I never thought my sister's wedding would be the day everything changed. The day I discovered who my family really was. The day I learned the truth about my Aunt Catherine's fortune. The morning started like any other wedding day. Chaos, excitement, and my sister Amanda barking orders at everyone. I was just the younger sister, relegated to handling minor tasks, while Amanda sparkled in her designer wedding dress that cost more than my yearly salary as a kindergarten teacher. "Sarah, where are the welcome bags for the VIP guests?" Amanda snapped, adjusting her veil for the 100th time. "And please tell me you're not wearing those shoes to my wedding." I looked down at my sensible heels, the nicest ones I owned. "These are what I have, Amanda. They're perfectly fine." She rolled her eyes, a gesture I'd become all too familiar with over the years. "This is why Aunt Catherine always preferred me, you know. You just don't understand class." The mention of Aunt Catherine made my heart ache. She passed away 3 months ago, and I still wasn't over it. Unlike the rest of my status-obsessed family, Aunt Catherine had been different. She lived modestly in her small cottage, tended her garden, and always had time to listen. While my parents and Amanda chased social connections and luxury brands, Aunt Catherine taught me about kindness, hard work, and finding joy in simple things. "Don't start with Aunt Catherine again," Amanda warned. "She was just a weird old lady who chose to live like a pauper despite her trust fund. Thank God she left everything to charity like she always said she would. Can you imagine if she'd left her money to you? You probably wasted on your students, or something equally ridiculous." I bit my tongue, remembering all the afternoons I'd spent with Aunt Catherine in her garden, learning about different herbs and flowers while Amanda was off at country clubs and spa days. My sister never understood why I'd waste time with our eccentric aunt. The wedding ceremony was set to begin in an hour at the Grand Plaza Hotel, the most expensive venue in the city. Amanda had made sure everything was perfect, from the imported flowers to the Michelin-starred catering. I was adjusting some place cards at the reception when an elderly gentleman in an impeccable suit approached me. "Miss Sarah Bennett?" he asked, his voice formal but kind. "Yes, that's me." He pulled an envelope from his briefcase. "I'm Harold Winchester, your Aunt Catherine's attorney. She left strict instructions that this letter was to be delivered to you precisely 3 months after her passing, and specifically on your sister's wedding day." My hands trembled as I took the envelope. It was heavy, sealed with wax, in an old-fashioned way that was so typically Aunt Catherine. But before I could open it, Amanda's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Sarah, what are you doing? The ceremony starts in 45 minutes, and..." She stopped short, seeing the envelope in my hands. "What's that?" "It's from Aunt Catherine," I said quietly. "Her lawyer just delivered it." Amanda's perfectly made-up face twisted. Oh God, not more drama from that old woman. She's still causing problems even from the grave. "Just throw it away, Sarah. This is my day." Our parents, attracted by the commotion, hurried over. "What's going on?" Mom demanded, her surgeon's trained eye taking in the scene. "Aunt Catherine left a letter for Sarah," Amanda said, her voice dripping with disdain. "To be delivered TODA of all days." Dad, never one for sentiment when it interfered with social obligations, checked his Rolex. "Sarah, put that away. We have important guests arriving. The governor and his wife will be here any minute." But for once in my life, I didn't comply. Something about the weight of that envelope, the timing of its delivery, made me stand my ground. "I'm opening it," I said firmly. "Don't you dare." Amanda grabbed for the envelope, but I stepped back. "You're not ruining my wedding with whatever crazy final words that poor old woman left you." The word poor struck me like a slap. How dare they? How dare they dismiss Aunt Catherine, who'd shown more love and wisdom than any of them. With shaking fingers, I broke the seal and opened the envelope. Several documents fell out, along with a letter in Aunt Catherine's elegant handwriting. As I read, the world seemed to stop spinning. "My dearest Sarah," the letter began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone, and your sister is about to marry that investment banker she thinks will give her the life of luxury she's always wanted. But there are some things you need to know." I couldn't believe what I was reading. Aunt Catherine hadn't been living modestly because of a small trust fund. She'd been the secret CEO of Montgomery Industries, a global technology and real estate empire worth billions. The cottage, the garden, the simple life, it had all been by choice. "While your sister and parents saw only my simple cottage," the letter continued, "they never bothered to look deeper, to understand that true wealth isn't about showing off. You, my dear Sarah, understood that. You saw me for who I was, not what I owned. That's why I'm leaving everything to you." The documents confirmed it. Aunt Catherine had left me her entire estate. The company, the real estate holdings, the investment portfolios. All of it, worth approximately $89 million. "What does it say?" Amanda demanded, her voice shrill. "Sarah, what did that crazy old woman write?" I looked up at my family, my sister in her designer wedding dress, my parents in their expensive clothes, all of them looking down at me with contempt barely hidden behind their impatience. "Aunt Catherine wasn't poor," I said quietly. "She was the CEO of Montgomery Industries, and she left everything to me." The silence that followed was deafening. Amanda's face went from red to white. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Dad started stammering about family obligations and sharing wealth. But I wasn't listening anymore. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in my purse. Then I took out my phone and called for a car. "Where are you going?" Amanda shrieked. "You can't leave. I'm about to get married. We need to discuss this." I turned to her, feeling stronger than I ever had before. "No, Amanda. You made it clear this is your day. So celebrate it. I have some things to take care of." As I walked out of the Grand Plaza Hotel, I could hear Amanda's screams behind me. But they didn't matter anymore. In my purse was a small key Aunt Catherine had included with the letter, the key to her cottage. But it wasn't just a cottage anymore. It was the beginning of my new life. Mr. Winchester was waiting by the hotel entrance. "There's a car ready, Miss Bennett. And the board of directors is expecting you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Your aunt spoke very highly of you." I nodded, thinking of all those afternoons in the garden. Aunt Catherine hadn't just been teaching me about herbs and flowers. She'd been teaching me about life, about business, about being strong without being cruel. As the car pulled away from the hotel, my phone exploded with messages from Amanda and my parents. I turned it off. They'd had years to show me love and respect. Now they had to live with their choices. The car headed toward Aunt Catherine's cottage, my cottage now. And somehow, I knew this was just the beginning of the story. The next morning felt surreal as I walked into the towering Montgomery Industries headquarters. The security guard smiled warmly. "Good morning, Miss Bennett. Mr. Winchester is waiting for you in the penthouse office." My aunt's office, my office now, took up the entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, but what caught my eye was the small herb garden tucked in one corner. Even here, Aunt Catherine had kept her connection to simple things. "Your aunt spent every morning tending those herbs," Mr. Winchester said, following my gaze. "She said it kept her grounded, reminded her what really matters." Before we could begin reviewing the company documents, my phone buzzed. I turned it back on to find 47 missed calls and over 100 messages. Now, Amanda was calling again. Against my better judgment, I answered. How dare you? She screamed. You ruined my wedding. Half the guests left after your dramatic exit. The governor's wife was asking questions about Aunt Catherine and Montgomery Industries. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? I'm sorry your wedding didn't go as planned, I said calmly, channeling Aunt Catherine's strength. But I'm not sorry for opening that letter. We're family. Amanda's voice suddenly turned sweet. We need to discuss this inheritance as a family. Daddy's already talking to his lawyers. You can't possibly handle a company this size. You're a kindergarten teacher, for God's sake. Mr. Winchester, who'd been pretending not to listen, handed me a stack of papers. The top document made me smile. Actually, Amanda, I can. Aunt Catherine spent the last 5 years secretly training me. All those weekends I spent at her cottage. We weren't just gardening. She was teaching me about business, investments, leadership. She documented everything. There was a long silence. Then Amanda's true colors showed again. You conniving little snake. You manipulated her, turned her against us. We're going to contest this will, and when we win, you'll be sorry. I ended the call and turned to Mr. Winchester. They're going to contest the will. He smiled. Your aunt anticipated that. Would you like to see what else was in that envelope you haven't opened yet? The remaining documents were devastating. Evidence of every time my family had tried to manipulate Aunt Catherine for money. Amanda's secret credit card debt. My parents' failed investment schemes. Most damning of all, proof that they'd tried to have Aunt Catherine declared mentally incompetent 2 years ago to seize control of her assets. She kept everything, Mr. Winchester explained. Every email, every recorded conversation, every legal document. She wanted you protected. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. While my family filed their lawsuit, I immersed myself in learning the company. The board of directors, who'd all known about my secret training, supported me completely. Aunt Catherine's executive assistant, Maria, became my right hand, helping me navigate the corporate world. My family's lawsuit fell apart spectacularly. Their lawyers quit when presented with the evidence of their previous attempts to seize Aunt Catherine's assets. The judge was particularly unimpressed by Amanda's tearful performance about family loyalty, especially after seeing the recordings of her mocking Aunt Catherine's pathetic lifestyle. But the final straw came during a settlement meeting 1 month after the wedding. My family arrived with a new lawyer, clearly expecting to negotiate. Instead, they found themselves facing the board of directors and a presentation of their own financial misdeeds. You've been using Montgomery Industries' subsidiary companies to secure loans and credit lines, I explained, watching their faces pale. Aunt Catherine allowed it because she believed in giving family chances. That ends today. You can't do this, Dad sputtered. We're your parents. Parents who haven't called me once without mentioning money since the wedding, I replied. You have 2 choices. Drop the lawsuit and pay back everything you owe, or I'll press charges for fraud. Mom burst into tears. But Amanda's wedding put us in debt. We had to maintain appearances. A wedding you didn't even invite Aunt Catherine to. I reminded them. Though now I understand why. You were afraid she'd show up in her gardening clothes and embarrass you in front of your society friends. In the end, they signed the papers dropping the lawsuit. Amanda stormed out, screaming about betrayal. Mom couldn't look me in the eye. Dad tried one last time to talk about family obligations, but fell silent when Mr. Winchester started pulling out more evidence files. 6 months later, Montgomery Industries was thriving under my leadership. I'd launched a new charitable foundation in Aunt Catherine's name, providing scholarships to underprivileged students and funding community gardens in urban areas. The herb garden in my office had expanded, and I spent every morning tending it, just like Aunt Catherine had. I kept her cottage exactly as it was, spending weekends there to remind myself of what really matters. The corporate world was exciting, but true happiness came from staying grounded, just as Aunt Catherine had taught me. The last I heard, Amanda's marriage was already in trouble. Apparently, her husband wasn't as wealthy as she thought, and their lavish lifestyle was built on debt. My parents had downsized, selling their mansion to pay back what they owed. They sent Christmas cards, full of hints about reconciliation, which I filed away with the rest of the evidence. One quiet evening, as I sat in Aunt Catherine's cottage garden watching the sunset, I found an old diary of hers. The last entry made me cry. "My dearest Sarah, you think I've been teaching you about herbs and flowers, but I've been teaching you about life. In a world obsessed with showing off wealth, you've learned the value of simplicity. In a family obsessed with status, you've stayed true to yourself. You're ready now. Ready to lead? Ready to show that true power comes from kindness, not cruelty. The garden will always remind you. The strongest plants aren't the showiest ones, but the ones with the deepest roots." I looked around at the thriving garden, at the empire I now commanded, and smiled. Aunt Catherine had given me more than just wealth. She'd given me wisdom. And that was worth more than all the millions in the world. The cottage doorbell rang. It was Maria, bringing the latest company reports. But mixed in with the paperwork was a newspaper, Amanda on the front page, her perfect life crumbling as her husband's financial schemes came to light. I set it aside without reading it. I had more important things to do. There were herbs to tend, a company to run, and people to help. Just as Aunt Catherine had taught me. After all, that's what real family does.